I started getting my Christmas decorations out late last night.
Oh.
And then they're just sitting in my living room.
Yeah, so I started Thanksgiving Day. As soon as we were through eating, I started pulling out my Christmas decorations.
Oh, I saw some of in your stories, some of the little things that we've purchased at the stores.
I know. I got sick over the weekend. I thought I had COVID. As you know, you heard all about it. I didn't have COVID. But let me tell you, I never get sick. And so when I started running a fever, I was like, well, it must be COVID.
Would it not be?
I mean, I don't ever get sick with anything else.
Yeah.
I like to say that I have like the world's most amazing immune system.
Yep.
But if there's a new virus, I can't help it. But
she hasn't built up immunities to it.
I am superhuman, but everybody has their weaknesses. But so I was really, I don't know if anybody else had this problem. I was really anxious about getting tested for COVID. I'd never been tested before.
It's really the government trying to give you a lobotomy.
I just, like the flu test, you know, they already stick that thing pretty far up your nose for the flu test. And I hate that.
Yeah.
And then, so for when they were like, this is further than the flu, and I was like, nope, I don't want to do that ever. So I really, really, really had to talk myself into going to get tested.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be negative. I didn't have COVID. But anyway, point being, I started decorating, got sick. And so for the whole weekend, all that stuff, my house was just a wreck.
Just sitting.
Yeah. So when I finally like ventured out of my room Sunday night and went downstairs for the first time in 3 days, and I was like, oh no.
Oh, here
stuff
it is.
everywhere.
I'm not feeling festive.
No.
Well, my sister and I went to Joann Fabrics yesterday because she needed stuff to decorate her tree with.
They've got so much cute stuff.
Yes. Brienne's super pregnant and she is just like hormonal, you know, how you get. And she's just like, Christmas is canceled. Christmas is over. I hate it. Her lights died on her tree.
Oh no.
And she's just like angry about everything. So I met her at Joann Fabrics last night, and you know me, like dancing around the store, like throwing stuff at her. We ended up finding
singing random songs.
That was me the whole entire time. People were staring.
It was.
Yeah, like grabbing random stuff and putting it in her cart. It's fine. She ended up spending, you know, like $180. She got enough to decorate 2 trees. Joann Fabrics is the place to be.
Oh, it's great. They have so much
They
cute
have
stuff.
70% off.
I haven't even been in there in years, and then my friend Amy wanted to go the other day, so we went, and I was like, well, look at this. Look at Joann's Fabrics. It's great. Yeah.
They moved,
so much
and
cute
now
stuff.
they're wonderful. So then she messaged her husband, and she was like, Christmas isn't canceled. And he said, what?
Joann saved Christmas.
Joann is here to save
This is not an ad.
It's not. If Joann Fabrics wants to sponsor us so I can decorate the shop, that's great.
I'll be happy with it.
I'm all over it.
Hey, this is Witches, Magic, Murder, Mystery.
Not Joann Fabrics.
This is not even a craft or decorating podcast.
Or Christmas podcast.
It is a podcast about witches, magic, murder, and mystery.
And mysteries.
I'm Megan.
I'm Kara.
Greetings of the day. Can we make it a thing?
Season's greetings.
Greetings of the day.
Warmest wishes. Best regards.
Yeah. We also, at times, are just a Schitt's Creek tribute podcast. Okay, what do we got to this time?
So, I have a murder.
Oh.
Of course. You know, I took a little break, sis, and I'm back in full force.
We went 2 weeks without a murder, you guys.
We did great. I'm proud of us.
We all needed time to recover from Sylvia Likens.
We just needed to heal.
Just needed to cleanse.
Heal our wounds. Okay, I am talking about Pearl Bryan. And where is her head?
Where's her head?
Where is her head to this day? We do not know.
No.
Yes. So, some people have believed that the ghost of Pearl Bryan is said to be roaming Bobby Mackey's bar. But a lot of people kind of dispute this.
Where is this?
It is in Kentucky.
Bobby Mackey's bar. Okay.
Yeah. So, Pearl Bryan was one of 12 children born to Alexander and Susan Farrow Bryan. She was born between 1872 and 1874 in Greencastle, Indiana, the second to youngest child and the last daughter. Alexander.
One of 12 children.
Yeah. I'm one of 5 and I feel like that's a lot. Alexander, her dad, was a well-to-do farmer. He was a stock breeder, so like cattle, all that stuff. Dairy business owner, whatever. Some people don't know what
Cattle,
stock is. Some people don't know. Could be chickens, who knows?
I think people think that in Kentucky everybody has cows.
We don't. I would love one of the fluffy ones though. Okay.
Oh, God, me too.
They're so cute.
I love
cows. Are so sweet. And he was also a dairy business operator. The Bryan family had high social standing in their community, so they didn't have any financial issues during the 19th century. It never seemed to affect the family, and they even survived the diphtheria outbreak. But by the beginning of the 20th century, their luck changed, and half of their children died.
Oh, no.
So causes included are brain fever, a peculiar folding bed accident, and of course, poor Pearl's decapitation.
Murder. So
can we go back to the folding bed accident?
What?
I don't know. I didn't look into it. I probably should have.
So there were 12 kids and then there were 6.
Yeah.
And this is why.
Yeah.
Brain fever.
Brain fever.
What is that?
Yeah. I don't...
Man, the 1800s were a wild
Can you
time.
imagine being a doctor and going in and being like, that's brain fever.
She's got the brain fever.
She's got the brain fever.
But also a peculiar folding bed
bed accident. Yeah.
Is it like a Murphy bed, you think? Where it comes down from the wall and then...
I don't know. Or like one of those cots that you like fold up.
Jeez.
But how is that like so spring...
I don't know.
It's like... How also would that... Did they suffocate in it? Did they...
Yeah, there's lots of questions.
We're going to have to Google this. I'm
this
sorry.
Poor family, though.
I
like,
didn't
what
have
a
enough
weird...
details on this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't believe that's not your focus. Decapitation, whatever. But someone died
bed.
in a folding bed.
Or multiples. Because there were 6 that died. So how many? I don't know.
This is so weird.
Yep.
So you had 12. Isn't it amazing, too, just how you could lose 6 kids so quickly?
Yeah.
I mean...
But then for them to be like, well, I still have 6.
Yeah. That's why they had 12. I mean, well, but honestly, like a friend of mine was talking about that the other day, how like a long time ago.
They had them to work the farms
yeah,
and stuff. Yeah.
And they used to tell you like, don't get too attached to your kid until they at least are like 5.
Yeah.
Because the odds of survival, you know.
All their diseases.
I mean, years and years and years ago.
Because vaccinations weren't really a thing then.
Yeah.
Okay. Pearl, was one of those. But... while she was living, she was very active in the community, in the church, and the school. After graduation, Pearl taught Sunday school at the Methodist Church and helped raise the young children left motherless by the deaths of her sisters. In the spring of...
so they were old enough to have kids of their own when they died. This is deep. Curiouser and curiouser.
Curiouser and curiouser.
I was picturing small children who got killed by a floating bed.
No.
Wow. Okay.
In the spring of 1895, Pearl met Scott Jackson. He had moved to Greencastle with his mother, who was trying to hide the fact that he had been in a serious trouble for embezzling from the railroad and disorderly conduct involving a prostitute, which got him kicked out of a dental college in Indianapolis. They moved in with Scott's sister, and he got an interim job working for the town dentist while waiting for fall quarter of the dental college in Cincinnati to start.
So he was going to go be a dentist.
Yes.
And he'd had some trouble in his past.
Yeah.
And his mom was trying to hide it.
Yeah. So not long after moving to Greencastle, Scott met William Wood, who was Pearl's cousin. William introduced them, and soon Pearl, whose nickname was Bert, and Scott, whose nickname was Dusty. Bert? I don't
Her nickname was Bert?
Yeah.
I love that, though.
Yeah.
Also, did you know that my name was almost Pearl? Have I ever told you this story?
No, but I know.
That's what my parents wanted to name me, was Pearl.
My name was going to be James. They thought I was a boy up until almost the point when I was born.
And then they were like, oh, guess not.
She's got a vagina.
Pearl. Can you imagine?
I like that.
I mean, I'm like, that would be amazing.
Pearl.
But when I was like, 10, I heard this story, I was like, oh my God.
Why would you do that?
Thank God you didn't name me Pearl. Now I think it'd be fantastic.
So right before Scott left for school in October in Cincinnati, he and Pearl became intimately involved. They got it on.
They did that's what that means.
They did the dude. Some heavy necking and petting in that time. After he had left for Cincinnati, Pearl discovered she's pregnant.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, congratulations, but no, that's not what she was counting on.
That's what ended it for her.
And it was also outside of marriage, but I'm sure in that time it was like super bad.
Yeah.
And she was a Sunday school teacher, which made it even worse.
In the Methodist church. So she desperately wanted to marry Scott and keep the baby, but Scott was like, heck no. He was back in college and was like, Pearl, you can't do this. You've got to have an abortion. Well, back then abortions were illegal. It was a criminal, thing. You can't be doing that.
Yeah.
So Scott returned to school, and Pearl kept her condition secret from her family. He wrote letters to William, the cousin, with messages for Pearl. They're not expressions of love, but instructions and recipes meant to induce a miscarriage.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Pearl wrote back to explain the methods weren't working. She had tried them. Nothing's happened. Baby's still there. Oh. She was beginning to show when he visited for Christmas, and he knew something needed to be done. So he asked Pearl to arrange a trip to Cincinnati where he would take care of her.
Oh, no. I don't like any of this.
No. She believed Scott would marry her in Cincinnati. So she was like, oh, he's going to take care of me.
She thought that's what he meant.
Yeah.
Bless her heart. This is awful.
Yeah. So she told her family she was going to visit the Fisher family, who were childhood friends who had moved away in Indianapolis. But instead, she set off for Cincinnati on January 28th, 1896.
So did her family know that she was involved with this guy? I guess so.
Yeah,
because
they knew that they were courting or whatever, dating.
Courting, yeah.
Yeah, necking and petting. When she arrived at Cincinnati, she went to the College of Dental Surgery to find Scott, but she couldn't find him, so she checked herself into and rented a room at the Indiana House of downtown Cincinnati under her sister's name, Mrs. Maud Stanley.
Do we think that he was ever actually at the College of Dental Surgery?
No.
I bet he wasn't. I bet it was all a lie.
She located Scott via messenger, and the two made plans to meet. Scott arrived with his roommate, Alonzo Walling. Scott let Pearl know he had no plans to marry her, and the purpose of the visit was to terminate her pregnancy.
Oh.
So she's getting there, and she's probably like in her room, getting so excited, thinking this is going to be great. She's finally going to get to
marry her boyfriend, and they're going to have their baby together.
Uh-huh.
She's got this whole future.
He's in dental college. He'll be able to support me because back then nobody brushed their teeth. So,
oh god.
I mean,
that's a horror story in itself. But this is so sad.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hard
because I don't feel like any of this is going to work out well for Pearl. It doesn't.
No, especially if we're searching for her head in a bar.
Right. We did say that at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Testimony from various witnesses indicated that for the next 3 days, Jackson continued to play the unsuccessful chemist and gave Pearl drugs that he hoped would cause her to abort. A druggist from a local pharmacy stated that he had sold Scott a large amount of cocaine, which was legal at the time. Yeah, and a bartender at Wallingford's saloon testified that he had seen Scott mix something into her drink early in the evening that night she was killed. Her autopsy did show that she ingested a substantial amount of the drug shortly before her death. The cocaine did not work as planned, though, and late that night, Jackson and his friend Alonzo Walling hired a driver named George Jackson, who was not related to them, to take them on what would be Pearl's last ride.
I don't understand. They didn't give it much time to work, you know? It's
no.
like, what did they expect? Like, drink the cocaine.
It's going to be immediate.
Oh, still pregnant.
Well, also, the baby was pretty developed by this point. Like, 5 months, I think? So, yeah.
Oh, this is terrible.
I know. Scott and Alonzo had been friends at a dental school in Indiana. Then he got in trouble and, all that stuff. And then he had to go to the one in Cincinnati. So then they both moved to dental school in Cincinnati, where they shared a room at a boarding house. No one really knows why Walling went along with Jackson's murderous plans. But he was known to be just easily, I don't know, he could just easily talk people into anything and everything.
So he was probably pretty charming.
Yeah. And people said that
I hate him.
Yeah. People said that his roommate was a follower too, so that didn't help his case any.
Well, he's just like one of these dudes who's like, I'm not gonna let anything get in the way of what I want. Yeah. So I'm gonna make sure this baby doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Even if it means killing.
Yeah.
Killing the woman who I had sex with to make the baby.
Exactly.
Who apparently, she's not of any use to him anymore.
Right. So the driver, George Jackson, stated that he had been hired on Elm Street to drive. He left Elm Street, turned left on 3rd Street, right on Broadway, and crossed the Central Bridge. When they had crossed into Kentucky, the route went from 3rd Street to Central Avenue to Chestnut Street to Isabella Street.
And in case any of you want to
all these
retrace the steps.
But it said he got scared because of Pearl's moaning in the back of the carriage and pulled over at the distillery on Licking Pike.
So maybe she would have had a miscarriage.
Yeah. This is the closest Pearl would come to being on what is now Bobby Mackey's property. So this is where people think the haunting began. Mm-hmm. But to each his own. He tried to refuse to go any further, but he testified that Alonzo jumped in the driver's seat with him and pulled out a gun and forced him to continue saying, "You black bastard, if you try to jump out of here, I'll send you to hell."
Oh.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. They proceeded on and eventually ended up going on Alexandria Pike and eventually Grandview Avenue, where John Locke's farm was located, which is where her body is found. Scott and Alonzo dragged Pearl out of the carriage and into the night. George took off running, damaging a lantern on the carriage in the process, leaving his horse and carriage behind when he heard Pearl scream, and he didn't look back.
Oh.
And later investigation turned out that, the carriage was damaged the lantern was damaged. So they were like, okay, well, this guy's got to be telling someone of the truth.
Yeah.
So it says, all hell broke loose when Pearl's body was discovered at the Lock Farm the next morning, but no one knew who she was. So when I'm giving you all these details of how the body was found, keep in mind that during this process, no one knew who she was. Even though I mentioned her, no one knew it was her.
Got it.
So on February 1st, 1896, 17-year-old Johnny Hewling was on his way to the Lock Farm in Fort Thomas, Kentucky, where he worked as a farmhand. He was running to keep warm. He stumbled over the headless body of a woman. He was terrified, so he ran to his employer, who immediately sent for police. The first officials on the scene were Sheriff John Plummer and County Coroner Tingley. Townsfolk flocked to the Lock Farm in droves to catch a morbid glimpse of the deceased. So Kentucky investigators thought the woman was a prostitute from Cincinnati. They called detectives Cal Krim and Jack McDermott, who kept track of the Cincinnati brothels and the girls who worked them. Neither recognized the deceased woman. The woman lay on her chest.
Why did they assume she was a prostitute?
Exactly.
I mean,
because she's out at night dead.
Yeah, so she was found on her chest on the slope of a ravine. Her arms were outstretched and her feet rested at the top of the hill in a pool of blood. Drops of blood splattered across the leaves and bushes above. The coroner would later testify that Pearl had been alive when she was decapitated because arterial spray that was found on the leaves was as high as 3 feet. Some papers even report 6 feet.
that's also like the weirdest way to murder
Oh my God.
a person. Like, he had a gun.
Yeah.
And even if he was trying to, like, not do anything loud, he could have just, like, beat her.
Yeah.
But, like, it just shows such, like, extreme callousness.
Yes.
That he's like, oh, and then to apparently take the head with him. Like, what kind of sick person?
Yeah. And the ground was soaked with at least 3 inches of her blood. That would not have been possible if she had been dead. That he later claimed when her head was cut off.
And she just wanted to marry him.
Yep, and have his baby.
She was going to marry the kind of guy who would do this.
Yep. And the driver's testimony later confirmed that the female in the carriage had been alive during their journey. So, they can't be like, oh, she was dead anyways. Her head was severed below the 5th vertebrae. Due to the murder's gruesome nature, it achieved significant notoriety at the time. Her body was found behind what is now the YMCA of Fort Thomas, Kentucky. Autopsy later revealed the fatal injection of prussic acid caused Pearl's death. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that is. It's unclear if the purpose of the injection was to cause an abortion or to kill her.
Did he just remove her head
so they couldn't
conceal her
identify
identity?
Her. Yeah.
Okay.
They located a woman's number 8 shoe on the top of the bank and a few strands of blonde hair. She wore light blue checkered dress, a dark blue skirt, and a union suit underwear. On her hands were tan-colored gloves sliced open from grabbing knife blade. Officers noted that she was shabbily dressed. Aside from her new shoes, her new shoes were of exceptional quality. The deep wounds on her hands and arms indicated that she put one hell of a fight. Yeah.
Well, it's not just her, it's her baby too. That she was hoping to have with this man.
Yeah. Dr. Carruthers drew this conclusion. He said, I'm satisfied that the girl was not raped. He said the man had reason to kill her and the result of the postmortem shows it. I judged that it was a premeditated and cold-blooded murder. The girl, in my opinion, was from the country and comparatively innocent. She was brought to Cincinnati to submit a criminal operation. Once here, she was taken to Fort Thomas and murdered.
Dang, he knew all of that just from studying the crime scene?
Yeah, he said her head was taken away, horrible as it may seem, merely to prevent the identification of her body.
Wow.
So a mob of people swarmed the area looking for keepsakes, including bloody leaves. Entrepreneurs set up souvenir stands. So Pearl's murder lined a lot of the pockets, it says. Some stories...
You always hear that about, especially murders from back in the day. It was just so... And it would be fascinating.
Yeah.
And also, like, macabre.
Some stories claim her unborn 5-month-old fetus ended up in a jar that had held peppermint sticks at a drugstore.
No.
And people paid to see it.
I hope that's not true. I don't believe... I'm going to say
I'm going to say no.
No, that's not true, guys. Strike it from the record.
Yes. It says, in an incredible show of sleuthing, 2 Cincinnati detectives were able to get a break in the case by studying her shoes that they found. Made in a tiny size by a small Indiana company, The shoes led the detectives to a cobbler who made them. They learned only 2 women had purchased the shoes in that size. One was alive, and the other was 23-year-old Pearl Bryan. Her family was notified and pointed detectives to Scott Jackson, 28-year-old student of Ohio College of Dental Surgery.
Oh, I guess he was actually a student then. Whatever.
I guess
still
so.
hate him.
One detective later said that Pearl had gone to meet Jackson to marry him after she learned she was pregnant, so he figured that out.
Yeah.
The family and detectives tried repeatedly to get Jackson and Walling to reveal what they had done with Pearl's head. In a scene that would never happen to today's court system, the 2 men were taken to the funeral home where Pearl's family waited. With Pearl's headless body on display in a white graduation dress, her sister dropped to her knees and begged Jackson to reveal what he had done with the head, and he said, "I can't tell you anything about it."
Yeah. Wow. Just because he just refused to admit that he did it?
Uh-huh. Can't tell you anything about it. I don't know.
He's a horrible, horrible person.
Yeah.
Like, he's a horrible person.
Horrible person. So it says they never got a straight answer from him. It was revealed during the trial that Bryan's cousin, Will Wood, Pearl Bryan, Will Wood wrote to Jackson when the family learned of unwed Bryan was pregnant. Jackson promised Wood he could fix her to protect the family's reputation, according to the Inquirer archives.
I bet he was like, I regret ever introducing you to her.
For sure. Letters that were submitted into evidence showed that Jackson had planned to have Walling help perform an abortion, but soon Walling realized that Jackson intended to poison her and make her death look like a suicide. So the cousin later faced federal charges for advising Jackson on chemicals and procedures that could be used in pregnancies, because it was illegal to do abortions. 2 separate individuals testified that Jackson had carried around Pearl's satchel, her big bag, the day after she was killed, and had asked the 2 people to store it. One was a bartender at Wallingford's, and he had jokingly asked if it carried a bowling ball because the weight inside was rolling around.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, but there'd be a smell if it, you know what I mean?
But it was the day, right after. Would it smell right after?
I believe that it would.
Well,
I just don't want to believe that he was carrying her head around in a bag.
In her bag.
Her bag.
From witnesses' testimony concerning the timeline of Scott's activities with her bag, which contained hair and bloodstains, Detective Cal Krim was of the belief until the day he died that Scott brought the head back to Fort Thomas in her bag, took it to the dental college, and cremated it in the furnace in the cadaver room. Because back then, the dental students worked on the dead people, and parts of them were sometimes burned in the furnace.
Then that makes complete sense.
So certainly it was hot enough to destroy her head. Pearl's family had to bury her poor little headless body. And for decades after the murder, people found skulls, and they were convinced that they had found her. None of them ever proved to be hers, though. So Pearl's body is buried in the family plot at Forest Hill Cemetery in Greencastle. The trial was complete by the middle of the summer. More than 100 witnesses were called to Jackson's defense. What? And according to New York Times, some were paid to commit perjury. Yeah.
Because he was a man. And
he was a man of his word.
And a dental, God. And a dental student.
Yeah, that's why
probably meant he
got kicked out of that other freaking college.
Good Lord.
So one of the other detectives later speculated that Jackson chose to kill Pearl after she refused to undergo an abortion, which was illegal at the time. Once again, it was illegal.
Can we say
it was her body? It was her choice. Okay, guys.
And it's also I don't know. He could have just let her live. He could have just let her live and have the baby.
Yeah, and just ignore her.
And just abandon her. Yeah.
I don't think the courts would have made him pay child support.
He's a douchebag either way, but then he's not a murderer.
Yeah.
Just the fact he just couldn't let her or the baby exist.
Yeah. Because it's going to ruin
This was better.
He claimed he was going to help the family's reputation, but he really didn't want to ruin his.
Murdering is better.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Alonzo and Scott were less than cooperative. They tried to alibi themselves unsuccessfully. Then they started turning on each other, each accusing the other of killing Pearl during an attempted abortion performed crudely with dental tools. They were dental
tools
students.
For your abortion.
Hey, you know what?
You just breezed right. You said that like it was nothing.
Yep.
Oh,
because you know what? I've practiced removing these molars. Why not?
No.
I can get a baby out with this, right?
Dental tools are terrifying enough, and now you're going to use them as an abortion? For an abortion? Why?
Yeah.
Can we rewind time?
Yeah.
To 3 minutes ago. Yeah. Before you said that sentence. Please. I would like to unhear that sentence.
Yes. Sorry.
Gross. God.
Yep.
Okay.
The defense argued that Pearl died in Ohio and was beheaded in Kentucky. If the jury accepted this defense, Scott and Alonzo would have been free men since the court could not try them for the same offense in Ohio and Kentucky.
What? Wait.
Yep. Yeah. The defense was just like, here's our thing. Like, you can't get
She can't.
Yeah. Our guys should be free.
That makes... No, I can't. I don't like it. I don't like any of it.
So they put this story out. They said after the botched abortion in Cincinnati, she was in great pain. Scott and Alonzo attempted to sedate her with chloroform. Instead, putting her peacefully under, they accidentally killed her. The defendants said that they brought Pearl's corpse to Kentucky where they severed her head to conceal her identity. They didn't think any witnesses would come forward to contest their vision of events. Of all the men in the prison, George Jackson, the driver, was able to pick the two men he drove the night Pearl died. So he was like in the prison. He's like,
good.
Those are the two MFers.
That's the one who held the gun to my head.
Yeah, man. I broke my lantern because of that guy.
Yeah.
So he identified Scott and Alonzo. George was the Cincinnati Academy, like I said. So on the night Pearl was murdered, he picked him up. He remembered all of this stuff that had happened. And he was just like, yeah, I drove across the Ohio onto Alexandria Pike, like took all these, like named all these streets. He was like talking about everything that he did.
Did they just not think he would?
Well, so he goes on to say that the guys told him that they were physicians and that they were, they're helping her. Because back then, I'm sure like doctors would get a carriage and take, I don't know. They didn't have hospitals like that. Then in the absence of a full confession, the jury was like, you know what? They're guilty of murder. This is it. So the judge handed down the sentence. The two men would hang for their crime. As for their head, the men claimed they threw it in the Ohio River and buried it in a sandbar. When the trial was underway, the second person that was said to have had the head in her bag brought the bag to police chief, who showed it to Scott. He was like, yeah, that's Pearl's bag. And he then rolled his eyes and wrung his hands as if Pearl's head was ever in the bag and said, I suppose it was, I guess.
Oh.
I suppose it was.
This is a person he used to love.
Yeah. So they were sentenced to be hanged, and the execution was scheduled for the following March. They were the last people hanged.
Maybe he didn't. Maybe I shouldn't say he used to love her.
Yeah.
But this is a person he used to have sex with.
Yeah, he was attracted to her. They were the last people hanged in Newport. The gallows located behind the courthouse were torn down following the execution. The case was very popular nationally at the time, provoking citizens to take souvenirs from the crime scene, even branches, and make people buy Pearl Bryan merchandise from a store near the Newport courthouse. They said that the trial was theatrical, and the double hanging was urged to be done hastily due to the threat of public lynching by Pearl's friends and relatives. The late Jim Reese, the author, historian, and well-known reporter and columnist for the Kentucky Post, in an article titled Pieces of the Past, relates that even during a jailbreak, the two men remained in their cell in fear of being lynched and were heavily protected. So they were like, shoot.
So they could escape, but they didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't want to risk going out. It's safer in here, guys.
Yeah.
Let's just stay.
We're going to get hung later, but
yeah, I'd rather be hung
I'd rather
than
them
face
not come get us.
Good. I'm glad they were terrified.
Yeah. So Jackson was described as like standing tall and proud and just playing the part of an actor. Walling actually trembled with his eyes just like looking down at the ground. And at that point, Jackson was asked if he had anything to say. An eyewitness said Jackson hesitated for a few moments before he replied. And before he spoke, Walling turned and looked at Jackson like, come on, dude. Like, you've got to tell the truth. So he was thinking, he's going to save my life, even while he stood on the brink of death. Walling had half turned around, and he stood in that position with an appealing expression, while Jackson, without looking at him, looked up and said, I only have this to say, that I'm not guilty for the crime which I'm now compelled to pay the penalty of my life. Walling was then asked if he had any comments, and he said, nothing. Only that you're taking the life of an innocent man, and I will call upon God to witness the truth of what I say. So these guys are like, the death.
I was going to say, like, what at that point, good does it do?
Yeah. Yeah. So newspaper accounts of this day and interviews conducted indicate nothing about Bobby Mackey's stuff until 2001 when some books focusing on the hauntings were published. Some people even mentioned that the guys were Satanists, but none of that ever shows. They were just complete assholes. More recently, there have been claims that her ghost haunts Bobby Mackey's Music World, located in Wilder. But I mean, she didn't really die there, so I don't know. An episode
It
of
could also be like a publicity stunt.
Yeah,
like
Ghost Adventures explored Pearl Bryan's murder and claims of supernatural activity at Bobby Mackey's Music World, but we all know how that goes.
Yeah.
The bag that was she had brought to Cincinnati that her blood and hair analysis proved that her head was actually carried in, is on display at the Campbell County Historical Society along with some other artifacts from the case. Her unborn baby is said to be preserved in a candy jar and was lost after time and almost certainly never got a proper burial.
Never happened. That never happened.
So, I mean, it goes on to say Pearl may very well haunt somewhere. She would certainly have every reason to do so after her traumatic death, especially now with so many misconceptions being thrown around about her.
Yeah.
But she has no reason to haunt that one building.
Yeah.
Miles away.
Right.
But I have a photo.
Okay.
2 photos, actually.
Okay.
So this photo is a crime scene photo showing Pearl after she had been moved by the coroner. So this is the coroner, and look up on the hill.
Oh, no. Oh, that's her.
Mm-hmm.
Headless.
Headless on a hill.
I'm amazed that this exists.
Well, they were stealing things and photographing that. There were hundreds of people there.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, I hate this.
And then the second photo is Scott Jackson and Alonzo Walling at the gallows. It says their necks didn't break during the hanging, and they both took quite a while to die of asphyxiation.
Good.
But look at them up there. Just stone-faced
assholes. And she just wanted to have the baby.
And live a life.
And marry her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And teach her Sunday school class.
Yeah. And raise her sister's kids.
I am very upset with you.
Let's go find her and give her a peaceful.
I mean, it's just so... It's also like women who get pregnant by bad, horrible men who then murder them is like such a... The fact that it's like that still happens is horrible. Yeah. It's horrible.
You know what? I got pregnant at 22.
It may not happen like this, but it happened.
And Soph's dad was in medical school.
Yeah.
He didn't kill me.
Right. Yeah.
So, guys, it can be done.
You don't have to kill anybody. Ever. That's
Ever.
All. Listen,
actually, let's not kill at
in
all.
any situation.
Don't kill.
You just don't. There's another option. There's another thing you could do. I just can't. It's just the saddest thing. I just keep thinking about how, she went to Cincinnati thinking he was going to propose.
Oh, poor
okay.
Pearl.
Sweet Pearl.
Sweet little Pearl.
Well, great job.
Sorry, guys.
Great job.
Sorry. Sorry. It was good, though.
I'm not going to put the headless photo on the Instagram.
No.
But if you all look it up, it's not gory. It's black and white and pretty grainy, but it is
Can put a photo
it's just
of her
sad.
Up.
Yeah, let's just put a photo of her up. It's just sad.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks for sticking with us.
Have a great week.
Try not to think about this too much.
Next Friday, will be Christmas Day.
Oh my gosh. Merry Christmas early.
Merry Christmas early. We are recording this before Christmas, obviously, and we're going to have to think about what sort of episode we're going to have on Christmas Day.
Should we tag team it again? Like, let's every holiday tag team.
Good job. Except Thanksgiving, we didn't, but that's okay.
We didn't know, but there's not really Thanksgiving murder. I'm sure
there is
Christmas.
There's a Thanksgiving murder, and I think Sinisterhood might have done it. Do you guys listen to Sinisterhood? It's
They're amazing. I love them.
I love Sinisterhood. Anyway, I think they did a Thanksgiving Day murders.
Okay, well, we'll take Christmas.
We're going to do Christmas. Just let the Sinisterhood people know.
Yeah, can you all tell them that?
Don't worry about it, guys.
Just come listen to our
We got the
episode
Christmas
for
one.
Christmas, okay? It's great.
Okay. All right. You guys have a good week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.